Hello, 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 everyone. It is me, Rashaunda Williams, and we are in our Leaders of Color interview series. We're bringing back our friend Lamar Shambley from Teens of Color Abroad, aka TOCA. We just watched a video from their last trip to, he just told me what it is, Sevilla. Yeah, oh, he's smiling. I'd probably jacked it up, but they take black and brown children abroad to study abroad with language learning on their online platform. I'm not going to talk all about it. We're going to bring him on, and he's going to answer everyone's questions about their success during this year's Giving Tuesday. They raised over $35,000. They're doing great work. So we wanted to bring him on to share his tips and best practices with our community. So let's get to it. Lamar Shambley uses pronouns he and him, is a Brooklyn-based educator teaching middle school math and high school Spanish. He was inspired by his former students to launch Teens of Color Abroad, TOCA, a small Black-led social impact organization that provides high school students of color with global language learning opportunities. In a few years, TOCA has sponsored new U.S. passports for 20 high school students, served over 400 students through in-person and virtual programming, and has been awarded more than $20,000 in scholarships to teens of color across the U.S. Lamar received his Bachelor's of Art in Modern Language and Literature from the College of William and Mary and his Master's of Arts in Teaching from the Relay Graduate School of Education. And without further ado, let's bring on our friend Lamar.
Hi. Thank you so much for that introduction.
You are so welcome, Lamar. I know I want to be mindful of your time. And we reached out to our community a few days ago and just got some questions from them. And we just go get right into it, okay?
Let's get right into it.
All right. This question is this is from Seeing Past My Block in Louisiana. They ask, how do you go about fundraising, Lamar?
Yeah. I think one of the ways that I start thinking about fundraising is the end in mind. What are the projects and programs that we're looking to fund? And so I think it's best to start with a goal in mind. And so having that final amount, then I work backwards from there. So I would say one, start with the goal in mind. Two, it is necessary to assemble your team. I cannot do this work with TOCA just by myself. So thankfully, we have a board of directors and an advisory council that supported us with fundraising for Giving Tuesday. So the second tip I would say is to assemble your team. Make sure that they have everything that they need to speak about the power of your program. They have the assets, they have the words, they have everything. So two, I would make sure that I have a team. And third, I would just say spread the word. Share the word with as many people as you can. Use QR codes. We definitely created a social media campaign leading into Giving Tuesday, and so that has allowed more people to learn about our fundraiser. So first, I would say start with the end in mind. Have your goal. Second, assemble your team. Make sure your board of directors and advisory council is prepared for fundraising. And third is to I already forgot what I said. But the third to spread the word. Have your social media campaign prepared to share more about your work and what you do.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you talked about your fundraising committee, Lamar. Um, Tiara from Agape Life in Georgia wants to know, how do you get others involved?
Yeah, we originally assembled a board and an advisory council because these were people that I was connected with here in New York City, and so I think from the very beginning of TOCA's formation, we just sort of coalesced a community around this that believed in the mission and believed what we're doing. And so I think it's just making sure that your mission is clear and that you find folks that are able to take your work to the next level.
That's great. This one is for me, just because. How long did you plan this year's Giving Tuesday campaign? Like, when did you and your team, your committee, when did you guys start planning out this campaign?
Hmm. Great question. So, Giving Tuesday has always been sort of in TOCA's vision for the year's fundraising. And I actually see Giving Tuesday as an excellent event to kick off the year end campaign. So, we started planning months back. And what we've also been able to do is reach out to companies, for example, raffle items. And so this year we had a raffle. And so we reached out to a company and they were able to donate those items. So you definitely want to plan for that further in advance. So I would say definitely plan out at least 6 months in advance what that looks like. You also, excuse me, what your Giving Tuesday fundraiser looks like. You also want to prepare that social media campaign leading into it. And so that requires time as well. So definitely 6 months in advance. But also, we see Giving Tuesday again as just a beginning point to the year end campaign. So it's more of a sort of drawn out process instead of just a 1 day fundraising.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that. It just pretty much gets the momentum started, right? To finish out the year strong. So thank you so much for that, Lamar. Another question that we have going back to the team. How many people are on your fundraising team or in your committee, and how did each contribute?
Yeah. So we have, counting myself, 7 people on our board of directors. And they are in very different fields, which is something that I thought about when I assembled the board of directors, so that we could have someone who is tied into nonprofit management, someone who is a lawyer, someone into finance, etc. So we have a team altogether of 7 people on the board. And then for our advisory council, we have about 20 people, which is a pretty large advisory council. But in starting TOCA, I wanted to make sure that we had a community around us. And thankfully, so many folks really resonated with our mission. And so for our advisory council, they support us with fundraising. They also support with volunteer tasks throughout the year. But when I assembled the board in the advisory council, I made it clear that fundraising was a big area, an area that we needed support with in order to do our work. And so everyone came together with that mission and knowing that fundraising was what we really needed support with. So everyone joined right in. Everyone had their own fundraising page. I also gave everyone email templates so they knew exactly what to email out to their constituents and folks in their network. And then folks in our advisory council also have other tasks such as marketing and communications, applying for grants. We have a Salesforce admin as well to support with our CRM platform. So I sort of tapped people based off of what they do professionally and where their strengths are and how that aligns with our work at TOCA.
Whew, you said so many beautiful words. You said CRM. You said delegating based on their skills and their background. And also, you set the expectation from the jump like, hey, you're going to be a part of this. We talked about that in our first interview, having a working board. This is what we expect of you, and this is what we need from you. That's so, so amazing. Thank you, Lamar. So I know you all had participated in Give 828 as well a couple years ago. And so I see the difference from the amount raised there and then how much you guys raised this year. Can you tell us how did this year's campaign, what did you do to improve this year's campaign from the 828 and then last year's Giving Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. I think we did a few things, and hopefully I can remember these, and I don't get too scatterbrained. One, I think that Since I started TOCA in 2018, I've sort of talked about this idea of TOCA and what this looks like to have a study abroad organization for high school students of color. And thankfully, this past summer, we were able to finally execute this program. This is our first trip. And so I think having this video and having photos and having student stories and parent stories, all of that really contributed to a compelling story. And so I think us being able to now show that story, for our students to be able to talk about their experience, for our parents to be able to share their experiences as parents being involved with TOCA, definitely put us in in a fantastic place for fundraising this year. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is having raffle items. Again, we reached out to a company and they were able to donate items. And so we wanted to have gifts that we can offer donors. And so having raffle items, I think really helped us this year. And I think the third thing is just having, and I keep bringing up the CRM platform, but having that seamlessly integrated so that we can get in touch with previous donors that donated in previous Giving Tuesdays, so that we can steward our donors for folks that donated this year for Giving Tuesday. So I think I also just understand TOCA so much more in this organization, and that takes time. And so I think, being that we've been able to execute our programming, we now have student and family stories. We have a team of folks that know how to support donor relationships. I think all of that has just sort of coalesced together to make this year's fundraising a success.
Awesome. You keep talking about the CRM. Listen, I'm all about automating and using software. I want one day to get to a point where the business just runs itself and I can be sitting somewhere on the beach and people are still being impacted and stuff is still working right. Can you tell us briefly about a few of your favorite fundraising tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely to talk about the CRM. And actually I see that you have automation and I'm so inspired by it. I see you have it in your Calendly. I got a reminder for this meeting like 10 minutes on a text on my phone. It's like, oh right, yeah, I have to be on camera at 2 p.m. So like having all of that is so helpful, especially if you're a slim team, right? I'm one founder and executive director, so I'm trying to use as many automations and software platforms as I can to further like easily streamline the work that I do. So definitely having Salesforce is we use Salesforce as our CRM that allows us to keep track of who has donated to TOCA, when did they donate, when was their largest gift, when have we last reached out to them, how do we steward that relationship. And so I am now thankful that we're at a place where we're thinking more than just a one-time donation, but how do we how do we mail them a postcard? How do we just keep that relationship warm so that folks feel like they're a part of the TOCA community? And so definitely use Salesforce CRM for a fundraising platform. For a CRM platform. Give Lively is a fantastic free fundraising platform for nonprofits. So that's what we use during the calendar year to accept donations. That also seamlessly integrates with Salesforce. So when folks donate to our Give Lively page, we automatically have their information inputted into our CRM, so that we can maintain that relationship. So I would say Salesforce, Give Lively, for fundraising, and then also MailChimp is what we use for mailing. And so leading into Giving Tuesday, we sent out emails to everyone in our TOCA community, so they got to hear stories from our students, and again, to know more about Giving Tuesday. We got to thank them immediately after. And so Salesforce for maintaining and keeping organized your donors, Give Lively for accepting donations, and it's a free platform for fundraising. They also have text to give codes, so you can create a text code that folks can text, and then it'll take them directly to your fundraising platform, and then MailChimp to maintain communication with your donors.
Yes, and I want to give you all kudos for that too, because prior to your trip, you taking those babies abroad, I got an email and it was like, hey, let's get on the call with these babies, right? And then this is right the day before they were going to the airport. So they were so excited. And I was just like, just take all my money, just take all of my money, here you are, and just to see the excitement on their faces. And it wasn't just from you, right? It was from them, seeing their excitement and hearing it from their perspective, which was really awesome. And then, yes, with your email campaign, that's how I knew you guys raised over $35,000. I got that email and I started screaming like, "Oh my God, let me message him right now." That's awesome, right? So just great leadership, just great, just it's just great all around. And thank you for sharing how you're just making so much impact with our community. So last question for you. This one is a very common one that we come across in our community, and I would love to hear your thoughts on overcoming the fear of asking for donations, aka rejection. Can you please, sir, speak to that to our audience?
Yo, this is so real. I will try my best not to turn this into a therapy session, but asking for donations is still hard for me. I think it's something that I'm getting better at. And I think it really comes from the fact that I'm from a family that we did not have a ton of money. And so this idea of building up the courage to ask people for their money, their hard earned money, to donate is really hard. And so the first thing I would say is be kind to yourself. This is natural. That is real. And I think it's important to acknowledge it. The second thing, what has been helpful for me is knowing that I am an advocate on behalf of my students. I wanted to do that virtual panel with donors to meet our students because I want our students to see all of the people that support them. It's not just me, right? I'm doing the work of TOCA, but folks have donated in order for us to do this work. And so I think in order to do the work, you have to find people to invest in the future impact of the work that you do. And so when I ask for donations, I just think about what this is going to do for our students in their futures. The powerful thing about travel is I think a lot of folks, especially folks of color, have really resonated with this mission and can speak to, oh yeah, I traveled once and it changed my life, and oh my God, I wish I had someone that taught me how to do these things when I was younger. And I think it's more of the feeling of the mission. And so folks are either going to say yes or no. And the fact of the matter is, you're asking them to invest in creating possibilities for your constituents. And so for me, I am still building my confidence around asking for funds, but I also know what this does for our students. And so I let the impact of our work guide me in making those asks. And I have received a lot of no's, and that is okay. And those no's, eventually led me in a direction where I received a lot of yeses. So you have to almost get knocked down and get back up, and also perfect and work on your pitch so that those will eventually lead to more yeses. So I think it's about acknowledging your relationship with money and how you feel about money, but then also keeping your mission as your North Star, and to stay guided by that.
Ooh, so good. So good. Thank you for your transparency as well. And I love that, just kind of reevaluating our own relationship with money and flipping it on its head, right? Like, I'm not asking for me, it's not for Lamar, it's for these babies, right? So that they can have exposure and opportunity in their life. And like you said as well, it's very relatable, right? Because when I was in high school, I took French, right? And in our class we went to Paris, but I wasn't able to go because my parents couldn't afford it, right? So that was kind of heartbreaking, but it's probably for the best because Rashaunda, teenage Rashaunda, Lord. so so thank you so much for your transparency and taking time out of your schedule to talk about us. Like you said, it's end of year. I know this is go time, um, and we really appreciate you just taking time to just edify our community and share what you've done and continue to do through TOCA.
Yeah.
Any last?
And thank you, and thank you. I have to say, I cannot do this work alone, and so it's people like you that create resources for people who have ideas but don't know where to start, right? And so having places where you can access, oh, here are these resources. More importantly, here are people that look like me and that maybe come from my same background that might be interested in supporting the work that I do. And so the fact that you are creating and cultivating a community of folks around that is just incredible. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Hey, we about our father's business around here, and I appreciate that, Lamar. But seeing what you all do just keeps us going, right? It just keeps us going because you're doing great work that is not just impacting yourselves, but like communities of people. Like you're in Brooklyn, I'm in Ohio, like everyone in the collective is all across the state. Our nonprofits are all across the state. Our VA Tim, he's in Nigeria. Like it's awesome, and it's our favorite drug. It's my favorite drug, I should say. Social impact, feel good. That's my endorphin high, So I thank you for that, Lamar. And would you like to lead us out with anything else for nonprofit leaders to keep them motivated to finish the end of the year strong, or some tips on how they can perfect their pitch?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that requires time. How I pitched Toka a year ago is very different than what I do now. I started Toka in 2018, and over the past few years, I think that I've also really understood what this organization is, what it could do for our students. So I've gathered a lot of feedback from our young people. Okay, what type of organization do you want? How do we create it? And I think that that's been part of our magic, is that we've been able to adapt to what our students need. And so if I could give any advice, it would be to listen to your constituents. Who are you working for? Who are you supporting? And are you doing the work that they need right now? And maybe what small changes can you make to make sure that you're meeting them uh, in giving them exactly the help that they need and the support that they need. Um, and so, yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice I would give, and just really hope that folks take their time in getting to know their organizations. I often talk about Toka as my baby because I'm like, I'm a brand new parent. I need to know how to take care of this child. And as the child gets bigger and bigger, I'm like, wait, I think I know what type of food they like. I think I know what they like to do. And so just give yourself that time, and before you know it, everything will be in sync.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry. When you were talking, I had one last question. I'm so
Of
sorry.
course.
So can you give us like a ratio of like versus programming and events that Toka does?
hmm So I will be also very honest and say that we have been moving sort of, okay, now that the world is sort of managing and dealing with COVID, what does having events look like? My mind has just been on programming. How do we support these kids? What programs do we need to create to ensure that students are learning languages and eventually traveling the world? And so we're getting to a place now where we're back to doing more in-person events. Be on the lookout for a gala in 2023. But definitely, it's important to bring communities together. And so we're looking forward to having more in person events in 2023. But we also do a lot of virtual events for donors. And yeah, that's sort of how we've maintained our balance.
I like that because I feel, just from the nonprofit operation side, I feel like you guys had it head on, right? You focused on the programming more so than the events, right? Because for more reasons, programming, that is what creates the impact that you can talk to your donors about, that you can show them that we're doing, not as much as events. Events is kind of after effect. So I
Mm-hmm.
think your ratio is perfect. It's very
Yeah,
balanced. And
and I will say that events are important, right? Because with events, you get to fundraise in an incredible amount. You get to build community. You get to share the word about the impacts of your organization. But in the development of TOCA, especially in the face of COVID, our primary focus was programs. How do we support these kids? Because we want them to be able to tell the power of TOCA to our donors, to their families. And so the focus has been on programming, but definitely events, more events will be coming in 2023.
Awesome. And also, I love that you guys were auctioning off an Airbnb. I was like, that was brilliant. Where was it? Upstate New York? Where was it at?
Yeah, this is in upstate New York. So one of our board members has an Airbnb, and so that's an excellent way for him to, support with fundraising. He offered his house and said, "Yeah, I would love for someone to take over and come visit our cabin upstate." And so just another fantastic resource for fundraising. When you have your board and advisory council, maybe they have other means of supporting with fundraising instead of just donating money directly. So we had that. And then also, I did want to say to support or to maintain our donors, we also have had, and I believe that you came to one, we had virtual cooking classes where we've invited donors to come learn how to make dishes from different parts of the world, which is very much aligned to our mission. And so virtual events is also a thing that is definitely here in the face of COVID. And so don't be afraid of creating a virtual experience that your donors would like.
Awesome. You're amazing. I thank you so much for your time. This is amazing. Everyone, go follow Teens of Color Abroad on Instagram, their YouTube channel, just to keep getting inspired because he's so humble. He's so humble. You have to just kind of see the amazing work that they are doing. For the youth with language learning and study abroad opportunities. It's incredible. And I'm so glad that you were willing to come on again and speak with us. And if you want to watch his first interview, that's on our YouTube channel as well. I believe that was 2021, maybe 2020.
Yeah, I want to say 2021, maybe summer 2021, around that time, but it's been over
Right.
a year.
Yeah. And he's been rocking it out ever since. So thank you so much, Lamar, for your time. God bless you. God keep you. May he continue to prosper the work of your hands and cover everyone attached to you. So thank you so much. And you all, this will be on our YouTube page. And again, connect with TOCA. He's like our big brother. He's like nonprofit big brother in New York, right? So you want to hang out with him. He's cool and he's really smart, and you want to learn from Lamar and all the great work that he's doing. So God bless you all. Goodbye.
Thank you, Rashaunda.